You should just call it like, you must die! Like Palpatine or something, the sheep lightning.
Murder! No, what is it? Unlimited power! They actually, to be fair, now think about this though. They had the Yi skin already. There is an opportunity for so many different, almost Star Wars, but not white, because not quite, because you don't want to hit copyright skins. That could maybe be the next thing we see come in.
Oh, but the thing is, I felt like League did a load of those in sort of like the early days. Like you had like the Star Wars skins, you had like the browser ones as well. I think are quite funny. Like you've got like, is it like Firefox, Ari, you've got Chrome, Ramus, stuff like that, and you're like, okay, this is kind of how a skin line works. But I think that the next Scar Guardian skin is a little bit more likely for Swain than anything Star Wars themed. But we are jumping onto the Rift now. Burning Core facing off against CGA. Two teams, bottom half of the standings, at risk of actually falling out of playoffs. So a win here, crucial for both of them.
Indeed, and that's been entirely off the back of other teams getting significantly better. Not just Hawks, I think Sengoku and DFM have also somehow tightened the ship further, which is incredible to see from this kind of a smaller region in the first place. And CJ instead and Burning Core both remaining relatively the same. And that's why we've seen them drop the ladder just a little bit, just like one spot each, right? Because they were contesting 5th and 6th last split. Or 4th and 5th, and now it's 5th and 6th.
And now 5th and 6th. It's a little bit where they wouldn't want to be. But
bit tricky.
I think an interesting thing to note here is what we're seeing in terms of the summoner spell choices and the rune setup from Flawless, because it is the Ghost, it is the press, the attack. This is implying a Shyvana that wants to get up close and personal, that wants to be tussling in melee range with CJ. And I feel like that really fits into the identity that CJ actually want to be playing out. You want champions to be in melee range of Cocoon because that just enables the Swain to drain tank even more.
Yeah, indeed. Going to be seeing how actually the Shyvana gets piloted in tandem with Loser, because whilst we talked about, hey, look at all the extension tools that CJ have, depth charge onto hybrid, remember the core carrying of CJ combined with Flawless, who's going to be with the pressy attack. There's still a multitude of builds, but definitely going to be more damage orientated. With that Dragon's Ascension, I think that's what it's called, we're going to be seeing how quickly they can get onto hybrid, and if Yuhi and Tandem can find the damage to pick off that player quickly, because even with all the teamfight extension tools, if hybrid dies at the start of the fight, it very quickly goes for Burning Core.
Yeah, I mean, the Swain, the Wukong, the Gnar, these are champions that can provide damage, but I wouldn't call them like pure damage carries, if you know what I mean. They buy a lot of time in team fights, and they are contributing to making that go a little bit longer, like we're already talking to. But once again, hybrid is the linchpin for CJ, and he's having to match up against a bot lane that can play very aggressive from Yuhi and Loser. Yeah,
I think we need to see actually Yuhi and Loser find at minimum pretty sizable CS lead, because they have all of the priority in this lane. That's actually really good that they managed to slot in Shyvana this early as well, though, because Shyvana, one of the best benefits from that 6-minute Drake coming in almost immediately. And look at the bot lane he has to set that up, as a lot of trading comes in. And yeah, this is really, you can see here the Kalista lane showing its head already.
Yeah, this is why this champion is pretty much permaban. The amount of pressure they can put out in the early stages is honestly ridiculous. And then when you get to team fights, obviously you've got the ability to dash around with the martial poise. But I think the key thing is the Fate's Call as your ultimate. It gives you another engaged children. When you've got a Nautilus already, more CC is going to make you very happy.
Indeed. And get to Pantor's top side. And this is fantastic. I wanted to talk about this matchup real quick, because this matchup, depending on who's got the wave shove, is going to dictate how each player is CSing and who has the strength in the matchup. It's all about wave control, because both top laners can take control of the wave, and once that begins, it becomes very easy to snowball that and push these waves towards turret and try and equalize CS that way. And Rayfuck actually coming out net even in CS and pretty healthy as well because of that. But that leaves him vulnerable to Kassin. Didn't find the time at this time. Now this wave is slow pushing back in. It gives Nat the opportunity to bully out a little bit more, but Flawless has made his way towards top side now as well. And that's going to be the back and forth constantly of pressure within this top side. I'm going to see which top laner or which jungler even decides, if at all, if they want to punish these two players.
Yeah, Flawless did actually just see that ward that CJ had placed in his top side jungle die, but I'm not sure if he was actually spotted on it themselves. So information inequality generated in favor of Burning Core. We're bringing back terminology that we haven't heard in a little bit of a while. In the early stage of the game, doing well, all lanes going relatively even thus far, and that's good for both these teams, but in different ways.
Yeah, I would say better for CGA, but I don't think Burning Core really got online yet. There is a very scary level 9 spike on 3 players from Burning Core, and I don't think the same can really be said from CGA. You get a lot more consistency in wave clear coming out from CGA once they get access to the safety net of Gnar as well as Swain being level 9, but the pure damage coming out from all 3 carries from Burning Core is so scary, and I think that means that Infernal Drake being the first Drake of the game, Burning Core trying to set up a slow push, now they have their eyes immediately set towards this.
Yeah, Dice ticking over to level 6 as well, and already completed that Leech Chandelier on this Akali, so going to be surviving a little bit longer in these fights with the Conqueror as well. Actually can tussle fairly well.
Swain items.
Band of Glass Mirror. Okay, we're seeing an Imperial Mandate going to be coming out. Means that Cocoon probably isn't in a position where he can really contest for this Drake, although level 6 may feel able to. Dice is going forward now onto the Swain. Kassin is here to back up his mid laner, but without the Cyclone on the Wukong, doesn't want to dive too far forward. It's actually CJ who've been able to pick up this play, and with no ultimate for the Swain, Burning Core feel able to go forward. So much time being bought in the front line by Nemba, but he is going to get Shuriken flipped on by Dice, who secures first blood. But now, CJ feel free to go forward. The health bars on Burning Core not as high as they would like. His hybrid 1v1 in the Akali on the backside should be able to win out on that fight eventually with the red and white guns. The DPS is pretty significant, although actually Dice turns it around with a flip at the end. 2 kills for the Burning Core mid laner and the Dragon to boot.
God, I hope we get a replay on that, because there were so many different factors which lead to that successful fight from Burning Core, and really exciting to see actually how Burning Core handled that fight, because that was ultimately what led to that success. Well, of course it is, but specific reasons why, and we do get to see the replay, so I'm going to highlight 3 things, G. First of all, Cocoon, number 1, immediately has to burn this demonic ascent right at the start of the fight, and you can see here how strong it is in this thing. Even with the Bandle Glass, he's having to burn that. Means, look, they get to immediately chunk him out, they drop the Ignite, and for a second here, looks really good for CGA. They burn so much effective HP out of Burning Core, and even after that kill gets found, we still feel like that Burning Core are playing from deficit, right? But look at the Drake and look at Hybrid here. So number 1, Dice handles this fight to perfection, playing around each tool, trying to use the bush as well to get vision, and then just, I mean, it's just Akali things here. Whilst this is happening towards this bot side, the CGA were tanking that Infernal Drake the entire time they were trying to look to get onto Flawless. That reduces that HP so much that Burning Core actually find the turnaround. They get to take the Drake. Immaculate.
Exceptional stuff in the early game, and you're getting your carries that you kind of need to be accelerated, which is going to feel absolutely amazing. It hasn't resulted in a massive gold lead in favor of Burning Core just yet, but I think crucially, that kill onto the backside of the fight went onto Nema. And the Tahm Kench is going to be doing absolutely nothing with that gold. So the difference at the top of your screen, not significant, but that's lying to you a little bit.
Indeed. And now we get to see as well, even with that fight happening, is level 7 is online for 2 players. We've got level 5 as well. We're very much approaching the big spike coming out from Burning Core, and Herald now online as well, especially now that Flawless managed to pick up that first Drake. He's got those bonus resistances. This team comp is already very skirmishy by nature, because they have multitude of doubles and triplets that they can play through to really ensure successful fights, especially with Cocoon opting towards a support build and almost immediately being punished by it. It means that whilst Kassin has eyes on this Herald, so does Flawless, and I think it's very scary for CJ to look to fight towards this Herald, but it's CGA. We know they're going to opt into it anyway.
Oh, Flawless diving forward there with the dragon form. Kassin can just hold himself. Wait, you're not going to miss that cooldown too much on Flawless, because you can just go back into your jungle, do a little bit of farming, and stack up that rage so you can cast the ult again. But doesn't seem content with that for now. He's just going to steal away a few range creeps in the mid lane. It's a little bit BM from
I think it's for
jungler.
wave prio, but I don't know how much it means.
No.
You sound like a salty mid laner, but I know you're a jungler as well. What's going on there?
No, I know my thought process if I did that in mid lane and it wasn't about pushing the wave at all.
Even with Flawless not being too unhappy to lose the ultimate, it is right on the timer for CJ, and they immediately look towards it. Oh, Dice has to burn the killer instinct. Nope.
Yeah, he has to burn the Shuriken flip, but it does go a little bit wide. Nap can take out the barrel, and Burning Core showing a little bit of restraint. Backing away when they don't feel like they can take the priority of the fight, although Flawless could just walk up and steal away the Herald.
I mean,
Fair
Nap
play
has
to you, mate. And
Mega.
CJ, they're not really defending this one super hard. Nap is Mega now, but Rayfaki can force them back with the barrels. Burning Core, they're going to be able to pick up this Herald, and they may look for the fight as well. Crunching away, but in the early stages, Burning Core coming out on top.
That is... did he just walk up slowly and smite that? Incredible. Flawless managing to finesse himself. Brilliant. He managed to finesse himself a Herald right on timer for him to clear out his top side, get an enhanced recall in, and now immediately, once again, they look towards the spot side again, and hey, look at that. They didn't burn any ultimates other than that Rayfaki's ultimate there in that fight. And we know that both of these top laners are not going to be TPing down for this Drake anytime soon. Rayfaki, if anything, has had repeated priority on this wave, and it means that if anybody's going to get a reset in and move towards this Drake, it's going to be Rayfaki first.
Yeah, and that's great to hear, honestly, for a GP, because you do need a little bit more of that setup time with the barrels. You need to get yourself in position. Now, another champion that I think is forced to play around objectives in a very, very specific way, obviously depending on the Mega Gnar timing. So getting that first rotate over is going to be very beneficial. We are starting to see items come through for both these teams. Flawless now going towards that Frost Fire Gauntlet, and it is that Imperial mandate for Cocoon.
Yeah, a cheaper first item coming in, and that may help them secure a successful fight here, but it is that mandate, which means that fights need to be played a little bit slower from CJ, which, to be fair, is the name of the game for this kind of a comp. So now it's kind of seeing how Cocoon can navigate this fight individually to support his team, because the playstyle changes very much from this player. It's less trying to find that triple burst combo from that never move. It's more about playing these fights a little bit slower, trying to set up for hybrid to follow up on that Imperial mandate proc.
Yeah, and I think the key thing is that neither of these AD carries has completed a mythic just yet. So in terms of power level, pretty even. As far as that spent gold girls, the hook from Loser diving in, but he's immediately taken out. Pull back with a Fate's Call, but CJ have already wiped this fight. Dice diving into the backline as no one, and Burnicore has actually gone down. The Drake goes in favor of CJ, but Burnicore somehow escaped.
Wow, Kasin doing God's work there, finding that immediate first engage to put Burnicore directly on the back burn. It does secure them the Drake. No kills found, just a little bit lacking in damage there. I think Hybrid was only able to find that Moonlight Vigil a little bit late and wasn't really on the correct guns for it anyway. But nonetheless, that's a second Drake picked up on the side of CJ instead. And even with, we talked about it already, a little bit of gold deficit on the carries for this team, they still managed to find an objective.
That's great stuff, and that means that the Drake Soul timer doesn't really exist for Burning Core right now, and denying some extra power away from Flawless on the Shivano is not something that CJ are going to be complaining about.
Indeed. And now this Herald gets immediately popped. I was about to mention it. It was on quarter timer just before Flawless popped it just now. So that's a nice little 2 plates going in. I'm hoping Dice walks up as well, gets a nice tidy income of gold too. And this is a good default. We always see this Herald popped at poor timings when it's about to blow out, especially because of how strong second Herald is now. I like to see it drop to mid lane almost immediately, because Dice is never going to find that by himself, and damage on mid lane turret is always impactful.
And I think the thing is as well, it's gold onto an Akali. And even if that's one of those small little zombie wards where you kill it and it grants you 1 gold, you feel good about gold onto Akali, because not quite at the mythic itemization yet, has made a little bit of a pit stop to pick up the Oblivion Orb, which is definitely necessary when you're playing against the likes of a Swain, but means that Riftmaker is going to be a little bit later before it comes in.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I'm actually not a huge fan of the Oblivion Orb coming in. Dice trying to find a little trade in mid lane. I don't think it's going to amount to much.
Yeah.
Whilst it's going to help a lot in side lane when that starts beginning, whilst Dice is locked into mid, I really wish he'd got access to that that mythic early on, especially because it's only 25% healing reduction now. Not as much value comes in from that 800 gold, and especially with the on-stew of champions that can build into it and proc it very widely and very easily. Maybe we would have wanted to see it come in a little bit later. Nonetheless, comes in and Flawless now. Look at the fight in his own jungle with Kassin. Don't think anything's going to happen really. And it is really this kind of a stalemate where both teams are relatively equal in power levels. And it's really the only player I'd want to see being maybe a little bit more aggressive is Yuhi. But even through this Nautilus Kalista lane, actually finding themselves in a very minor CS deficit.
And it's reminding me a lot of the Draven that we've seen from Yuhi in the past. It very much feels like Burning Core go to him. Hey, here's a strong early game champion. It's going to be enough to get you through that laning phase versus these higher skill AD carries, but we're not really going to enable the pick too much. We're not really going to enable you too much. Rely on the utility that you can provide in team fights with this Kalista, and kind of just say that's it. CJ looking at a bot lane dive here. They are going to be running into Flawless, who has that Dragonfall ready, and Kassin maybe a little bit caught out. The flash eat from Nema to keep his jungler alive, but with that tower falling down, CJ can go forward in this fight. Flawless already taken out, as that's a kill. That is a second kill. That is a third kill for CGA, and they make the play in the bot lane pan out for them beautifully.
Wow, and yeah, it comes off a multitude of factors there. Unlocking that bot lane turret was really the big thing to enable that dive. No other damage set coming in, and then putting, once again, Burning Core on the back foot there. They immediately aggress, and it forces, especially because Loser's already been chunked out here, it forces that immediate Kalista ulti, so Loser can't play his role out here, and we're going to see exactly how that plays out, even with Kassin getting chunked very low here. Yeah, Nema just making sure this comes out, and even with Hybrid being threatened by Flawless, he pops the turret first. Just very smart and calm play from CJ, really secures him this fight.
Yeah, and it's that bot lane that Burning Core didn't play towards, that Burning Core didn't enable, now in a deficit even more, and it's CJ that have claimed the gold lead in this game. And once again, I want to look at Cocoon. A really good play here on the Swain, getting towards that Rylai's very quickly, and that 2-item spike is absolutely lethal.
Yeah, this is maybe my biggest criticism of Burning Core's drafting style, was the multitude of mid lane bans they threw towards. Mid lane isn't that kind of a role anymore. We don't see specific 2 or 3 champions hold strong sense in the meta. We're seeing a lot of defaults at the moment, obviously being that the Ahri, the Corki, the Azir really as the blinds, right? But even with something like the Akali coming in, can very aptly be handled by something holding less value in the meta. That's very clear, because I mean, we talk about the Swain specifically being a very strong presence with this kind of a comp as a whole.
Nema should be fine in the mid lane. This Rift Herald not quite going to take out the tower, although it's going to chunk it very, very low. So if someone on Burning Core wants to go over and breathe on the mid lane tower, that'd be absolutely excellent. But CJ able to trade it for the Hextech Drake, and now stacking 5 members. They're trying to take down the Burning Core mid lane tower, and they don't really have the wave clear to stand up against this Dice. Looking for something on the side of Kassin, going for the dive. The tower has fallen down, and CJ may get the fight as well. A massive engage from Nap, but it's actually Yuhi who claims the first kill of the fight. Another one for Cocoon, though, as CJ are now on the run. Dice is turned up, level 11 on the Akali, but an excellent flash from Nap gets him away for the time being. Eats it up now in the mini form, but Nemba with a clutch save onto his top laner means that CJ don't lose anyone else.
Oh! CJ playing that fight very cleanly once again. Now it's going to be a mid lane turret in exchange for mid lane turret, and actually a 1-for-1, which means that gold lead remains relatively neutral, and actually both teams come out pretty even with that. But we're seeing the essence of how CJ wants to play really show its head, and that in turn leads to me really being very much in the favor of CJ in the stage of this early game, because this comp is only going to get stronger once that Rylai gets picked up by the Swain. I think it's going to be the big item that we're going to be looking towards. And yeah, see how this fight gets handled. Once again, very calm in terms of how they handle this. Cocoon popping this ultimate early on as soon as this Shuriken flip lands onto Dice means Dice is locked out of this fight for such an extended period of time. The only big flub coming out from CGA is their very aggressive stance, even with this second turret still being available, is really what puts them on deficit here. But even throughout this fight, they're so calm with this. I think Nema, look at that. Look at the timing on that. And he's so chill with it as well.
Yeah, it's the second time.
I didn't know he was chill like that.
Yeah, it's very chill. Very chill. Very chill. Second time this game that we've seen a clutch eat like that, and I'm really happy that Nema is back in the squad, because Primo coming in looked all right for CGA, but it really was about Cocoon in terms of that duo of rookies that was popping off. And I think for CGA, this is probably the strongest roster that they're going to be able to put together for themselves, and going towards playoffs, definitely something that they're keeping their eye on. I think they're absolutely set up for success.
Indeed. Now we see Baron spawns now. Nobody really going to be looking towards that yet, but that does mean that the vision congestion towards topside always increases as soon as that objective spawns, no matter what, especially when you're against a Kalista, whilst Burning Core definitely won't be looking towards it anytime soon. That threat is ever present. In turn, this means that now that this mid lane turret's been unlocked, especially with Hybrid being oh so strong, CJ are going to have a lot of priority in this mid lane, and we want to see how they get to convert that into space on the map, potentially looking towards this top lane tier 1 as well, and try to increase that very minor gold lead that they currently hold. It's not even a gold lead, really.
Yeah, it's not really anything. But you do want to sort of do that sweep of the outer towers just so you can establish your vision lines a little bit further forward, because in 2 minutes' time, you've got a crack at Hextech Soul Point, which is going to feel absolutely disgusting when you've been able to stack these up a little bit more, and when you've already got champions that are going to benefit from that so much.
Did you know that the Hextech portals are actually made by Jace from Arcane?
Wait, Jace from Arcane?
Jace from Arcane, yeah. Big fan I am, actually.
From Arcane. CGA going to find Flawless here in the topside jungle. Nemra is around here as well. They need to be careful, though, because members of Burning Core are starting to rotate over. But Kassin able to dash over the wall, get himself out of there just fine. And this is a game that's been very cagey. It's been very tepid a lot of times. But we saw in our first game of the day how game that is looking a bit even can explode into action very, very quickly. Loser throwing out the hook, but not finding it. Cocoon popping that demonic ascension very, very early. That is a massive cooldown off the board.
I don't know if there's an opportunity for Burning Core to look towards this Baron, even with that ultimate being burnt, though. They've got eyes on it. They're going to walk out clear some vision, even threaten it nonetheless. But Cocoon really playing on the edge there. I think he assumed he was going to get lollipopped by that hook there, and decided to see if he could buffer the ultimate through that to ensure he wouldn't get picked off. And in turn, that's an ultimate burn right before Hextech Drake number 2 is coming online. 25 seconds on that now, and Burning Core as well after that, and seeing all the resets in, they also get priority in this mid wave as well. So we've seen them play a little bit backwards in these team fights. Now that they're able to set up some initial vision around the Drake, I want to see if Yuhi can actually get his foot on the aggression, because 2 items kicks in now. On top of that, Dice obviously being that ever-threatening side lane, and he wants to get the flank off. Burning Core setting up this vision will enable him to do so, and could really disrupt CJ's plans.
Kassin going forward with the clone, finding another cyclone onto 3 members of Burning Core. What a moonlight vigil from Hybrid, as down goes the Shyvana in the front line, and now the solo lanes from Burning Core are on the wrong side of the rift. Loser still hanging around, can fish with the hook. There is no smite available for CJ, but no smite for Burning Core either. They could look to play out this fight, although they may just get caught out. Rayfaki going a little bit too far forward as Dice exhausted as he dives into the backline. Once again, Nema saving his team with clutch defensive support play. A TP out coming through from Rayfaki, but Nat puts him to sleep.
Wow. Disgusting combo coming up from CGA, specifically that Moonlight Vigil. You highlighted it there, but so important to play on the shreds of Infernum, as well as that level 11 ultimate as well, was so impactful for starting that fight successfully. Nap now almost mega. Burning Core were looking towards it, but yeah.
He knows. And we know he knows.
Okay, we get the replay on it, and yeah, so we can highlight this. Kassin very on the foot forward, something we see from constant aggression. He loves to play like this, but the Infernum Moonlight Vigil, level 11 as well, absolutely deletes, and that's off the back of a very lucky crit, I would like to say, by the way, and pretty much secures in this fight. Even though we see Burning Core try to make the play in return, remember Dice has yet to burn that ultimate. doesn't really amount to much, and that's third Drake going over to CGA, and they have a very clear goal now that they're looking towards. I think this soul specifically is oh so potent and works so well with this kind of a comp as well, because they're going to get multiple procs off that in a fight, and that's going to lead so well to some of the more inconsistencies that this team comp has. And wow, yeah, you said it there, Nap puts Ray Farkey to sleep. What a testament.
Yeah, as Kasin once again going forward, finding a knockup with the Cyclone. Well, this fight is looking a little bit less advantageous for Crest Gaming Ads. Already a kill for Dice, but he has burnt a lot to get it, and Hybrid is still alive. Loser diving forward, using the death charge as well as Cocoon with the ultimate, with the Rylai's, with the slows. There is no way that he can get out of this one. Flash forward with the lightning, and the Callista can hop as much as she likes, but jumps into the grave.
I wish I'd been able to highlight it in the last fight, because the last fight was when this Rylai's was online, but this is really the fight where it shows how strong this combination is. I think very smart from Cocoon to come in with the utility focus build, because it doesn't matter if he's done a support item first. That quicker spike into the Rylai's, into a potential Zhonya's third as well, that's all that matters here. And it really showed there against Yuhi, where he really wasn't able to play the game. And I came out of this expecting just another chill sesh, but Kasin wants to keep fighting, keep pushing this lead as much as possible. And even though he gets burned out here, I think the team are very on board to go, okay, Kasin's almost dead, time to follow up on his death and actually find something in exchange. And this is basically off the back of Dice being completely locked out of this fight.
Yeah, and look, it's Cocoon going forward. Finally, CGA have got a man in the mid lane that they can play around. 4-0-4 on the Swain. And I can't imagine there are going to be many people happier about this than Hybrid. It's not all on him anymore. There is a genuine threat coming out of the middle of the map for Crest Gaming Act, and he is looking very, very impressive.
Yeah, maybe Cocoon converts me into a CGA fan. I think his champ pool, Victor and Swain. I mean, he's got my favorite archetype in his pool. That's all I need to see. Yeah, very cool to see him playing so well. And that, as you mentioned, so important for CJ, because they've been missing this kind of asset in the mid lane. It showed very heavily in spring, because Kaito, especially in playoffs, got super restricted in his pool and taken down very, very swiftly in terms of, you know, the other mid laners like Dice, who's, whilst Burning Core are sitting at the forefront of they're sitting at the same kind of cusp. Dice was definitely a more potent mid laner in terms of solo threat. Cocoon has managed to dismantle him very completely when a multitude of bans were thrown into him, and now once team fighting has started, has shown his strength very much so in this Swain.
Impressive stuff. Level 15. I wonder if he's going to be able to tick over to that level 16 mark. Unlocked. So important. Fully upgraded demonic ascension right before this potential hexed hex soul. 3 items for Hybrid as well now. He's got that infinity edge on the AD carry, which means that this Aphelios is at a point where it's very, very difficult to fight against him. Although, one member on Burning Core I do want to highlight is Ray Farkey. 3 items on the GP, nearly level 16 himself. I think if there's going to be anyone to watch in the next team fight for the blue side team, it is the Pirate in the top lane.
Now, level skirmishing begins. We know that Kasin's not going to be able to look for this yet because Cocoon is not yet in position. Very smart from Cocoon actually to opt into a heal whilst his flash is down with that spellbook as well. Going to be really important to navigating through some of these fights. And remember, as soon as he gets onto Yuhi and that Rylai starts proccing, Yuhi is nowhere to go. He is reliant on other people to CC out Cocoon to get outside of the demonic ascension range. And we saw that show in last fight. We want to see it again. Vertical maybe take a bit more of identification on how they can get Yuhi through these extended fights.
Yeah, because needs to be pumping out that damage. Nap very, very close to going mega on the Gnar, and if he can find the engage, it would be absolutely massive for CJ. Flawless.
Burning Core
back in the front line as that soul already for CJ. Burning Core are late to the play, but they are going to be heading for an early grave. Kasim with the engage, but Yuhi is able to kite it out just in time. Nema once again saving Hybrid as Dice has nowhere to go. Another kill for Hybrid, and CGA look to put this game to bed.
Wow, CJ playing a tandem of fighting there. We have Hybrids and Nema in the bot side dealing with the delayed engage from Dice, and the rest of CJ are disrupting Flawless from stopping that Drake, and then again following up and forcing Yuhi and Loser once again to play backwards into a Swain. It's so difficult for them to fight these quicker fights they want to look towards, and very much dismantling this comp. They get the soul, they immediately, because of the committal from Burning Core to not just give up the soul, because you don't give up a soul like that, it immediately leads into the Baron as well. Burning Core now very quickly finding themselves in a consistent thing. And see here, Burning Core, I think, missing the mark just a little bit, because Nap getting Mega, and immediately they opt into the Drake fight right next to the wall. So setting up CJ perfectly for this fantastic disruption, this delayed response from Burning Core, and getting aptly punished.
It is really exceptional stuff, and it feels like Dice has been made to feel so useless in this game. We know how good he can be on stuff like the Akali, but every single time, Nema has been there to keep the carries alive. As, of course, it's CJ Burning Core. We jump out of a replay and straight into a fight, and this one not looking good for the blue side team at all. Flawless and Dice both on blinking HP bars, and CJ, with that advantage, are going to find a much easier time getting this push in the top lane down.
Yeah, Economy Baron in full swing now, as they have 3 tier 2s to unlock still. Want to see how much they can get out of this, but a 4-1 it seems to be beginning here. Now, real quick to note is that Kassin did burn that Wind Cyclone right at the start of that fight there, so they're missing a key engage and disruption tool. It's almost entirely off the back now of Nat being Mega and Cocoon having that Demonic Ascension to try and start a fight.
Yeah, but look at this now. CJ still with a minute and a half on the Baron, absolutely free to push in the top lane, and Hybrid could just go forward and look for a solo kill onto Dice.
Oh, disgusting.
How the bloody hell do you go for that play? Ridiculous from the Crest Gaming Act AD carry, and that frees them up to just go for this push. Nap is stood in the mid lane,
look at
but
Cocoon.
they don't seem to get, because Cocoon could just stand in the way of everybody on Burning Core. Impervious. Waiting on the wave to get there in time, but Loser rooted up in the front side, forced back to the relative safety of his fountain. CJ, one away in the game, right here, right now, is Flawless taken off the board. Rayfaki forced to run away, but Nap will chase him down with the Hyperprocs and put him to death. Crest Gaming Act in a vital matchup against Burning Core secure the dub.
Casters in their first game with Cocoon said how impressive he was. I came into this expecting the same, and I'm very satisfied with this performance.